Before this video starts, if you enjoy this video, there are many more like it already on the channel with many more like it to come in the future, so subscribe. I'm trying to hit 125,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I would really appreciate it. I upload 6 days a week on this channel, so if you're looking for some consistent basketball talk, this is the place for it. Also drop a like on this video, it only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference. So this is yet another unscripted video, and I did not want to have them be this frequent, but every time I do one, they do well and everyone tells me that they like them. So I don't know what to make of that. I did a poll on Twitter and almost, I think it was over 70% of the vote said they preferred unscripted. So if that's what you guys want, this is easier for me, and I don't want to feel like I'm being lazy, but if it's easier for me and it's better content, then it's a win-win. So if you want more unscripted stuff, let me know. But today I decided to do an unscripted video because I really wanted to talk about the first round matchup between the Thunder and the Houston Rockets, because as the title says, this series was really fucking weird. Now, is it the weirdest series of all time? Probably not, but it's a good title, so that's the game. A lot of the reasons why this series was weird comes down to the moments, but one of the reasons that this series was even as close as it was, at least in the beginning, was because Russell Westbrook was not playing, and Russ has been a big part of Houston this year. He's made big strides in his game and been pretty much the best that he's ever been. Because of that, him being out is kind of a big deal. However, I really didn't expect this to be a close series because, look, I respect what OKC does, and I even bought into the people saying that OKC is a sleeper team, but after a while it was like, look, Chris Paul has been amazing this year, but I don't think he's good enough to carry this team out of a first round matchup with a lot of inexperienced guys and guys I don't trust in the playoffs like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Danilo Gallinari, and even really Dennis Schroeder. Even though he's really good this year, I don't really trust anybody on that Thunder team besides for Chris Paul, and Chris Paul is not that great. So as a result, I didn't think this series would be close even with Russell Westbrook being out, but obviously I was wrong about that. The series came down to 4-4, and then I believe the Rockets won game 5. Yeah, the Rockets won game 5, and that was without Russell Westbrook. And then, or no, yes, that was it without Russell Westbrook. Fuck, am I mixing this up in my head? No, so they did have Russell Westbrook in game 5, although he didn't play much, but it was kind of a blowout game, and he didn't play well, but it was fine because it was a blowout game. But game 6 comes around, Russell Westbrook once again does not perform well, and to close out that game, they gave the ball to Russell Westbrook, and this was a very questionable decision. Now, there were a couple of angles that people put on this, and after that game, after Russell Westbrook airballed a really significant shot in the clutch, and then turned the ball over in pretty much the game-deciding play. After that game, I posted this, which is, where is my Russell Westbrook hater suit? Because if you're not familiar with my history with Russell Westbrook, I have been on this guy's ass for a long time, and then when he went to Houston, and people started to really get an idea of how good he actually is and where he should be ranked in the league, I haven't had much to say about him, because I think people have been more reasonable about where they're ranking Russell Westbrook and not people having the audacity to put him over Steph Curry. But obviously, still, he has had some significant issues with his IQ on the court and his decision making. I tweeted out, once again, letting Russell Westbrook make late game decisions was a bad idea. And that's because Russell Westbrook does not make good late game decisions, and I have consistently argued against the idea that Russell Westbrook is clutch, because as many game winners as he's hit and as many clutch moments as he's had, he has had as many, if not more, disastrous blowing of the game moments in his career, to the point where I trust so many more players before I trust Russell Westbrook in a clutch moment. Even if he can hit a game-winning shot, the likelihood that he doesn't do some stupid shit before that shot to get them in that position in the first place is pretty fucking low. And I've even declared him as the worst superstar in NBA history, which, looking back, that might have been Carmelo Anthony, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I've definitely gotten that label, and somewhat deservingly, because I've been a little unfair to him in the past, but yeah, might have to put on a little bit of a Russell Westbrook hater suit if he keeps playing like this in the playoffs. So that's game 6. Basically, Russell Westbrook blows it. And then game 7 comes around, which was on last night, and holy shit, this game was fucking weird. Lou Dort was like the greatest player ever in this fucking series, or in this game particularly, because only him, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James have had that much points in a Game 7 as a rookie, which is fucking wild. He's in the same conversation, wait, not as a rookie, in his first playoff series. What was the goddamn thing? God damn it. This is what happens. This is what happens when I go unscripted, because LeBron didn't make the playoffs in his rookie year. Okay, Lou Dort was only the third player outside of Kobe and LeBron to have 25 plus points in a Game 7 at the age of 21 or younger. My bad, but that's kind of the problem with doing unscripted. He hit 6 3-pointers after being left wide open to a degree that is Ben Simmons level of disrespectful, and he made 6 in this game, including one really clutch one. And he was playing fantastic defense on Harden this entire series, which is why Harden really struggled in this series. I mean, he was the player of the game probably for this entire game, even though the Rockets won. If it wasn't him, it was Robert Covington for the Rockets, because both Harden and Russ did not play well in this game. But this was a close game, and it came down to a very weird ending. So the Houston Rockets are up, and there's only a little bit of time left on the clock, and the Thunder have an inbound play to... Well, actually, let me talk about what happened before this, because Jesus Christ, the Thunder completely fucked up their ending of that game, because Chris Paul tried to create offense way too early in the shot clock with like 15 seconds left, and he really should have just put it on the final second. That's when he shoots it, but he didn't do that, and the Thunder kind of scramble to get a shot up, and it ends in a bad shot, and James Harden blocks Lou Dort, and the ball is out of bounds because Lou Dort caught it from out of bounds, and then it's Houston's ball. They get the free throws. I believe one of them is missed. Then there's a weird foul off ball that results in an extra free throw for OKC, which would make it a 1-point game. However, they put Danilo Gallinari at the free throw line instead of Chris Paul. Now, Gallo to that point had hit 25 consecutive free throws, many of those in this matchup, and that's fair enough. However, Chris Paul has been clutch as shit for OKC all year. As a matter of fact, he has been statistically the most clutch player this season. So why the fuck would you not give the ball to Chris Paul in that situation and let him put that point on the board? Now, ultimately, it doesn't necessarily matter, but butterfly effect and all that, maybe they make that shot and they go with a different inbound play. You never know with this shit. But the inbound play, the Rockets defend it horribly. So I'm going to put a photo on screen. For some reason, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the inbounder here, and if you look, Dennis Schroeder, if the pass is being made by a good passer, Dennis Schroeder's wide open. It's a cross-court pass, but I think it's a makeable pass, and as long as Schroeder doesn't fumble it, he gets a good look at an open jump shot. Or he can cut back door, because that lane's completely open, and Steven Adams has the easiest roll to the basket I've ever seen. Now, I do think people are presenting it as like Adams was going to get a guaranteed wide open layup, because I don't think people realize that Tucker and Covington were going to bring help defense, and it wasn't going to be the easiest shot in the world, but it was a lot better than what they got, because what they got was a turnover. And you know who they drew this play up for? Not Chris Paul, who, again, statistically the clutchest player in the league. They drew it up for Danilo Gallinari, who had just missed a clutch free throw, and to that point had only scored 4 points on 2 of 6 shooting. So Gallo was playing like shit. Chris Paul had a triple-double, the first one of someone his age ever. The oldest player before him to get a triple-double in the playoffs was LeBron James. Chris Paul got one at 35. And Paul was relatively efficient in this game, hit a lot of big shots in the clutch of this game, including some threes in the eye of Robert Covington, because he was weirdly targeting Covington. And they give the ball to Danilo Gallinari, and not even that, they fail to give him the ball because it was a horrible pass. And to put a little bit of a target on Shai, guy's not a playmaker whatsoever, and I think it's ridiculous when people call him a point guard, because this kind of vision is unacceptable out of a point guard. But yeah, that's that series, but now I want to put a focus on what's to come for these teams. I don't want to take too long because I might make separate videos on this. Well, OKC, I think they should be leaving the bubble with their heads held high, because this series had no business being 7 games anyways. So the fact that they got there in the first place, and having Lou Dort break out as a really good defender and a guy who played really well in Game 7, like, I think the Thunder leave the bubble in pretty good spirits. At least they should be. What I do think was weird is that Chris Paul today released a video with him talking about, like, this season, but he kept talking in the past tense in a way that suggested that like this season was done and his time in Oklahoma was done. Here's the clip.
And coming there, obviously a lot of people try to count us out, counted me out, and all I can say is I'll never forget it. Sam, you were straightforward with me from day one. I don't know what the future holds. To Oklahoma City, I thank you guys. To Kobe, you behind the camera, Matt, everybody that made this experience what it was. I hate that it ended as early as it did, but Oklahoma City will always have a special place in my heart.
I only cut in the parts where it seemed like he was talking cryptically. I don't know, it was weird. I think there's a possibility that Sam Presti is planning on trading him and he just wanted him for this year for his contract to ride out a little bit, and it's easier to trade him now that it's just a 2-year and he proved himself. So yeah, I think it's possible he's leaving. It's just weird that he would release that video. But regardless of that, I think OKC is in a phenomenal position because even though Shea's not a good playmaker, he's still a very good player. There are other young guys on this team to be excited about, like Dort and Baisley, I think his name is, was hitting a bunch of 3-pointers. And this team has a lot of upside, but even if they didn't have that upside currently on the roster, they have like 6 million picks over the next 10 years. So they're going to be just fine. They could package those picks for a star level player. They could just build through the draft. And with that many draft assets, you're going to land somebody good. The ability to miss on that many draft picks would be some New York Knicks level shit. And as long as the franchise is semi-competent, they don't have to worry about that. And yeah, I mean, the Thunder are in a good position, so I don't think they should be concerned. And finally, Houston is going into round 2 versus the LA Lakers. I made a video on why I thought this team would be a sleeper contender, and I said the Lakers would beat them, but it'd be possible for the Rockets to give them a series. It's really just going to depend on how James Harden and Russell Westbrook performed, because both of them performed like shit versus Oklahoma, and luckily, I think that showed that supporting cast is pretty good, but at the end of the day, if they want to beat the Lakers, both Russ and Harden have to play at the top of their games. Now, the Lakers' defensive guards are not amazing, and unless LeBron is defending James Harden, I expect James Harden to go off in this series. Russell Westbrook, as always, is a wild card, but it's possible they beat the Lakers, and I don't expect them to, but the thing is, if they lost this round 1 matchup versus Oklahoma, which keep in mind, they came very close to losing this matchup, Houston would be on fire, and rightfully so, because this team is kind of stuck where it's at, and if it's not going to work, then they're completely fucked. Luckily, a second round loss to the Lakers is commendable, and it's enough to be like, we can keep going here. But if you can't make it out of the first round past the Thunder, a team led by the guy that you just traded to get Russell Westbrook, then you'd look really damn bad, and you'd have to make some significant changes. But losing in the second round of the Lakers, I think that's good enough to where if they do it respectably, you can run it back. If they get destroyed, then they're probably still... I mean, I don't think this team's winning a championship with better teams in the league, but they can be in competition for it at least for a good while. But if they lost to the Thunder, I wouldn't be able to say that with any level of confidence. So those teams should both be fine down the road, at least in the short term for Houston, and definitely in the long term for Oklahoma. That's just a little bit of a reflection on that playoff series. I might do this for some other series depending on how it goes. I'll definitely do one on this Miami Bucks series if it continues to go bad like this. Actually, after that video I just dropped on the Bucks, Mike Budenholzer further proved my point by playing Giannis 35 minutes, but I'm not going to go on about that. So that is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.